And we're here again. Now I know some of you guys are wondering, I can't believe or why is he doing this video? As I said, like, first of all, you guys have supported my other videos, and you know, I appreciate that so much from you guys. Thank you very much for supporting my other videos, whether like or dislike on this. But you know, I like doing these type of topics for Overwatch, so it's very cool where it's like a controversial thing, but like somewhere it's also the fact that maybe there's some people that do agree with me on that aspect, and I can try to explain why it is like that. So with that, I want to go ahead and state right now my top 3 overpowered DPS characters. Now before I get into this, because obviously some of you people like don't get the fact that this is strictly opinionated, and then you get into the comments and then you get very upset, and then you have to, like, you know, start throwing insults here and there, and you know, you guys do a lot more than what you're supposed to, you little racists. But as I said, I'm going to be holding the comments in review because of the fact that some of you guys don't know how to act properly. With that, as I said, you guys can still comment on the video. Of course, I want your opinions on your top 3 most overpowered DPS characters. Whether you believe, you know, somebody will agree with you, whether you believe that somebody will not agree with you, tell me who are your top 3 overpowered DPS characters. And with that, let's get started. Now I know what you're thinking. I know you've heard me say this as one of the he's one of the worst Overwatch characters in the game. Now here's what I usually found out when it came to Junkrat. He could be very useful if you know how to use him properly. And with that of him being very useful, he tends to do a lot of damage, and especially close up, especially where he doesn't take damage to his grenades. Now that was added in, like, I would say, like at the very beginning of Overwatch 1, because of the fact that he didn't see a lot of gameplay because he was really useless. But if you see of how powerful he can be, especially with things like you know, his two I would say 2 remote bombs, his 2 traps and everything, especially with his tire, he is very powerful. Especially if you're a shield tank, people would use him to go ahead and break down the tanks easily. So I think as a character, he is very overpowered if you know how to play him really well. One thing I don't like is just him as a character. I just don't like of how, like, you know, much he actually just kills someone with like 1 shot, or like even some people with like 2 shots depending on who it is. And with that, it's just me that I just really don't like it too much. Especially where the trap puts major stop on people like Reaper, and Reaper cannot phase out. So things like that, Sombra gets caught, she cannot teleport or use her teleporter until she gets out of the trap. Hamster gets stuck in it and he can't roll out with his I would say, like, when he uses his hook and then he does, like, you know, like his charge up for when he's spinning, he can't go ahead and run over the trap with the power. He will just get stopped. So I think that's very, you know, powerful of an ability, especially where it can stop a Reinhardt mid-charge. I think as a character, he is very powerful. I think he's really overpowered because characters that do things like, you know, use rockets like Pharah and Soldier, and even characters like I believe Ashe, who are damaged with their dynamite, or even characters with I believe Zarya, who's even damaged with her secondary shot, the I would say that bomb that she has with her laser, they take damage from it, but he doesn't. I think that's what shows a little bit of his overpowered abilities. But as a character, he is very, very powerful. I think he somewhat needs a nerf based on how much he does the damage, or at least if, you know, because a lot of people say he's a high skill ceiling. I don't see it that way. I see it because like at times people lob the actual grenades here and there, especially in a small room, especially when there's certain areas in a small room. He doesn't take too much to play, especially where you're just constantly doing things like going straight forward and you're just so free with walking up to people and doing so much damage. And that's like literally my issue of why he's overpowered. I think if they don't nerf him, I think people who take damage to the projectiles should not be taking damage to their own projectiles unless it is done with things like Genji's deflect. So that is exactly why, one of the reasons he is one of the most overpowered DPS characters. Now, before you assholes decide to get on my fucking neck about what the hell I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna go ahead and hear something in the comments or hear something from someone like, oh, he's not overpowered in the top 500s or GMs. Guess what, guys? The top 500s and GMs do not depict on what needs to be nerfed and buffed, or do not depict on what's overpowered and what's not underpowered. Guess what? That's not how it goes. It goes by the whole community. And guess what? It can be done without them because it's called math. That's how nerfing and buffing is done. Math. Do you guys understand that? They don't go ahead and nerf and buff based on, you know, the high ranks. It makes no sense of doing so. Because guess what? Even Overwatch League does not depict the actual nerfing and buffing. It has to go by the whole entire game. But before you assholes decide to get on my neck, hear me out. So I did a whole list on certain things, especially for Genji, and reason why I say Genji is an overpowered character is not because of his simple primary or spread attack, which does a large amount of damage. It's not even for his ultimate. It's not even for things like the fact that he can double jump, he can actually wall run, and he can do like certain ways of getting away. It's for two things. Simple fact that when he actually uses his ability for a dash, it restarts right away. So like for instance, like if I use the dash right now, if you take a look at that, I have 8 seconds of a cooldown. But let's say if I get one enemy to, like, you know, a small amount of health to be able to use the dash, it restarts automatically. There is no other ability that does that. There is no other ability that starts off right away. The only one that probably does that is Junker Queen, but you actually have to hit a large amount of people in a row. Now, another reason why he's overpowered is simply because of this ability. And this is why I say this ability is probably the most overpowered ability in the fucking game. And some people don't want to listen to me. I went through the actual Overwatch website, and I went through everybody's abilities, every role, every single character that could be deflected by Genji's deflect. And I went ahead and added them up. I looked in from tanks, from DPS, from support, and you think I'm joking. I actually have a whole list here, all together, a whole list, all together. I'm not even fucking joking. Literally, Genji is able to deflect altogether through everyone's kit, through every role, almost 84 moves. And that is an overpowered ability. Not even D.Va's ability for her defense matrix is that powerful. Why? Because D.Va's ability for the defense matrix can stop a projectile, where Genji's deflect can actually be useful against an enemy. So that is exactly why I say his ability is, especially deflect, is one of the or probably the most overpowered ability in Overwatch history. But I digress. There is one thing I can say. The deflect will work only if you are that good with Genji, which in my opinion, he's not that difficult of a character. You know, I'm probably going to get bullshit for that. But if you are really, really good with Genji, if you are absolutely amazing with Genji, then it wouldn't be no issue. It would be no problem for you to be able to hit those deflects and even get kills with it. But with that, in that perspective, a lot of people should understand why I label him an overpowered character. But don't worry guys, he's not the overpowered character in Overwatch, even though he has the most overpowered move in Overwatch. But let me move on to the most overpowered character in the game. I can agree on many aspects that Sojourn is probably the most overpowered character in Overwatch right now. Reason being is because her damage output is extremely high. Simply because of the fact that where she does damage, she ends up charging the ability to be able to use a charge shot. So if I use a charge shot right now, it does a large amount of damage. Even for her, she could rip through tanks, not just with a charge shot, but with the vortex style ability. And her overall damage by herself is really, really powerful, which makes her even better than most DPS on the list. Especially with her ultimate, where she does overcharge, where everything is literally going to 100%, and she does a large amount of damage, and it's very, very, very powerful. Especially for, you know, the DPS area, especially against, you know, things like support. A lot of people are not able to survive a really good Sojourn, and whether or not it's on GM, whether or not it's top 500 or even a bronze or silver, her damage output is too damn good and it's too damn powerful. I think one thing that needs to change is a little bit more of the idea that when she does a primary, her charge takes a little bit more to get. I think that's what's needed. I think even like somewhat of a little bit of a damage nerf to it, but with this I can see why people say that, oh, she's massively overpowered. It's very weird to me that, you know, that with these abilities overall her kit is way too good. So if you come across a really good Sojourn, it's a major problem for you, whether you're tank, support, or DPS. And you know, it's good that now like things like even a Sombra can take her out if you're really good with Sombra. A Reaper can take her out. Even a Genji can deflect a lot from Sojourn. But her overall power compared to a lot of other DPS is way too much, and in my opinion her damage is way too overpowered for against any type of role. I think she needs somewhat of a nerf to balance her out just a little bit more than other you know, other characters. I think with her actual kit she is way more to the point of, hey, they need to do a major change or overhaul to her, the amount of damage she does. You know, even Soldier or even Reaper at times cannot keep up with her damage. I see myself at times when I'm playing Sojourn hitting damage to at least 18 to 20k if the game is long enough, and it's very, very, very powerful to see that with a Sojourn. Even if it's like, you know, to a point where it's like only 2 rounds I can manage to hit 20k. So that is a major problem for a character that needs major nerfing and buffing. Now guys, once again, I know some of you guys are gonna come at my neck. Calm the fuck down, relax. Everybody needs to go ahead and understand that this is just opinionated, especially how some of you don't understand. It just goes right over your head like some 41. If you are a 2000 punk rock music lover like I am, please, you know, you probably get that reference. But with that, as I said, it's just straight opinionated. I'm going to be holding the comments, like, you know, for review, because some of you guys don't know how to fucking act, because I have to treat you like fucking children. But you can still comment on the video. Let me know what your top 3 most overpowered DPS characters are, and with that, by all means, just let me know why they are overpowered to you. Don't use it as a fucking factual thing that, oh, top 500s or GM or did something. No, they don't make what the game is, and they don't choose what gets nerfed and buffed. Sorry, not sorry. Let me know what you guys think is overpowered in your opinion only. But with that, definitely subscribe to the EHG community. Definitely turn your notifications for when we get new streams and new videos set out. Definitely join us on our Facebook group, our Discord channel. Make sure to go ahead and check out our merchandise and to support us on Patreon, where right now our merchandise on Teespring is 50% off until December 31st for your whole purchase. And with that, this is Nico from the EHG community. Stay tuned for another episode or another video. And remember that there's always something amazing on the horizon.